Okay, we're going to start Dinei Erev Rosh Hashanah. So the day before Rosh Hashanah, which is this for this year, it's going to be Sunday, right? So Sunday is going to be Erev Rosh Hashanah. He says over here, No Hagim la'asad hatarat nidarim b'yom Erev Rosh Hashanah, shehu yom chavtet Elul. The minhag is to make hatarat nidarim, and he says it comes from a remez in a pasuk, Lo yechel devaro kechol, right? Lo yechel devaro kechol. The sofet or the last letters of each spells Elul. So it was a remez, it's a sign from the drasha of Chazal that they should make hatarat nidarim. Now, interesting to note, sidebar, interesting to note that we make hatarat nidarim different than Ashkenazim. What do I mean different? When we make hatarat nidarim, we all stand in front of a bet din of three, and Yosef, we stand in front of a bet din of 3 or 10. We're going to see it's actually better to do it with 10. And then the people and everyone stands together in front of them. But Ashkenazim, that's not the way to make hatarat nidarim. One year, I had to pray Erev Rosh Hashanah. I had to pray Ashkenazim. They make hatarat nidarim. They do like this. They have 4 people sit down together. Every 4 people sit down together, and one person reads it to that 3, and then they switch it. Another person reads to the 3, and then another person reads to the 3, and then another person reads to the 3. So everyone gets into their small little group, and each one reads it to each other. And it's a personal one. It's a singular. It's like in a lashon yachid. Hatarat nidarim, it's a lashon yachid. We make hatarat nidarim in a group. Okay. What does he say here further? What you can pull that Yalkut right over there. That's right there. So, those who learn halachot. You should have 10 men who learn halakha, so they should be sitting while we stand up and say hatarat nidarim. That is the preferable way to do it. As it says, as it says in Nedarim, Yidu b'chalom tzarech 10 bnei adam lehatir lo. Those are those who learn halacha. So, preferably, you are to have 10 people sitting. And my father shul is very makbid on that. He has 10 people sitting. So those, and then everyone goes to them, and then those people stand up, and those 10 people over the other side sit for them. So this way, is done in front of 10. Yes.
Is there any way to do it at the same time? The ones that are reading for you, just have them at the same time in mind. So all the people get,
I don't think so. No, I think it's usually you have to do it twice because they're the beddin. They're acting as the beddin. So I know some shuls they do it once and that's it. And then the guys who were sitting what about me?
Right.
It shouldn't be that way. They should take turns. One does it, and then the next one does it.
No 3, no 4.
So you could do it with 3, but preferably to be 10 people sitting. The preferable way, lechatchila, tov la'asar hatara lechatchila aydi asara. If they have 10 people who know halacha, they should be sitting and doing hatarat nidarim. We're going to move now to page 95, and on halacha 77. This is important. This is a lot of people don't know this. So let's see over here. B'tfilat shacharit be'erev Rosh Hashanah and omrim vidui v'nefilat apayim. So obviously, shacharit morning, erev Rosh Hashanah. So this Sunday morning, since Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Tov, we're not going to say tachanun and vidui in after Shmona Esrei. We're not going to do that. Below mizmor yancha v'tfilah leDavid, and all the stuff that you skip when you don't say tachanun, you're going to skip. Like you do every Erev Yom Tov, you don't say those stuff. Even though during Slichot we do say vidui, we say Hashavnu begadnu, right? And we do Niflat Apayim, we say the David Lecha Hashem Nafshi Esa. We do that in the Slichot. Even if it's after dawn, but Kodem Netzahama. But it has to be before Netz. If you're going to be saying Selichot after Netz, you cannot do Vidui and Nifilat Apayim. You have to skip it in the Selichot. You cannot do it. A lot of people don't know this. They make Selichot after Netz and they do the whole Selichot. But you can't. It's already Erev Yom Tov. You have to skip Vidui and Nifilat Apayim. What we do here, that's why if you look on our schedule, people saying, "Oh, why'd you make Sunday next week 5:30 Selichot? Why don't you make it 6:45?" We can't make it 6:45. You make it 6:45, it's already after Netz. you can't do the full sedichot. So we want to do it earlier. This way we can get the whole thing. So this is an important halakha to do. You'll see a lot of places they don't know, and they say everything every Shana after nets. They shouldn't. You should be saying, you should not be saying vidui and niflat apayim after nets on Rosh Hashanah. Of mincha shelifnei yom erev Rosh Hashanah, mincha the day before erev Rosh Hashanah. Well, this week's going to be Shabbat. Pashut she'omrim vidu v'nifilat apayim. It's pashut that you'll say vidu v'nifilat apayim, even though sometimes erev mincha, right, the mincha before the day, we also don't say vidu v'nifilat apayim. However, erev Rosh Hashanah we do say. So that means on Shabbat we would say tzidkatecha, right? We wouldn't say hishem after mincha. We would say tzidkatecha because if it was a weekday, you would say tachanun mincha before the mincha the day before. Okay, so it's just from shaharit. At nets, once you hit nets, we no longer do vidu v'nifilat apayim. If you would pay shacharit early, you also wouldn't do it. Okay, this is an important halakha. So halakha 77, halakha 79, page 96. He says over here there are some who have a minhag to fast erev Rosh Hashanah. There are those who have the practice of eating before dawn, so they'll have a strength to endure the fast without becoming weakened. Someone wishes to follow this practice, you should declare before going to sleep the night before that he wishes to be able to eat and drink if he wakes up before dawn. So if you're going to fast, you have to treat it like a regular fast day, and you have to, say the night before you're going to wake up early and eat. Today, again, our Chachamim today tell us better if you're not going to be strong enough to go into Rosh Hashanah correctly, better not to fast. Okay. Today we're a weaker generation, so we don't fast if we can avoid it. We try not to fast. But if someone feels it's going to get him into a better mood, then you could fast. You just have to fast correctly. Halacha 81. Minhag Yisrael is taper erev Shana lechod Chag. It's a minhag to trim one's hair erev Rosh Hashanah. So not everyone can take a haircut erev Rosh Hashanah. There's too many people to go to the barber. But on Rosh Hashanah, try to trim something. So if you usually use a trimmer or something, try to trim something to make it like Kvod HaChag. You should look a little bit more sharper for that. You're going to dress with the laundered and pressed garments. And we're showing because we know that Hashem is going to give us a good judgment. Yes.
So it's better to do it Sunday, or we could do it Friday for Shabbat, for the honor of Shabbat, and just have Rosh Hashanah in mind. Or
you can take the haircut already now. You can take the haircut already before. Just erev Rosh Hashanah, just touch up. Do a little touch up. Yeah, do a little touch up. Just touch something just to do. You didn't do that, it's also fine. Just the minhag is to just try to show that you're getting ready for it, by doing a little bit touch up over there. Halacha 82, page 98. There are some who have a minhag to go to kvarim, to go to the kvarim of tzaddikim, of the dead people, on erev Rosh Hashanah. Kind of get them a little bit somber, try to get them into Rosh Hashanah, life or death. So maybe go to the kvarim to see what would happen. Shalom, you get into the book of death over there. Be careful when you go there. Be careful when you go there that you're not praying to the dead people, right? When you go to the Kvarim of Tzaddikim, we're not praying to the dead tzaddik. We're praying there that what does it say in his chut, that he should be a Melitz Yoshesh. He should be for us like an advocate. We're asking him to go daven for us to Hashem. We're not davening to him, please answer us. Oh, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, please answer us. No, we're davening through him to Hashem, but not to him. Interestingly, and we'll take a look at the note for a moment, and look at what it says in the last line there. It is absolutely forbidden for Kohanim to enter a cemetery or even visit the site where a great tzaddik has been buried. Now, why does he come and say, why does Yalkut Yosef want to tell us that he can't, Kohanim can't go to Kivarim? So you see over here in note 58, interesting thing, some Kohanim permit themselves to visit the graves of great tzaddikim, relying on the teaching of the Holy Zohar. It says in Parsha Vayishlach, the body of tzaddikim who learn Torah, they do not become tameh. They remain pure and free of any tumah. And the Zohar says once the rabbis found Eliyahu Hanavi in a cemetery, Who's Eliyahu? Eliyahu is Pinchas. He's a Kohen. So they told him, what are you doing here? He said that tzaddikim did not become tameh when they passed away. That's why, as a Kohen, I can be here. Likewise, the Midrash teaches in Yalkut Shimoni, Eliyahu Hanavi picked up the body of Rabbi Akiva and carried them on his shoulder. When Rabbi Yoshua Hagarasi saw this, he said, Eliyahu Hanavi, you're a Kohen. And again, he said, by the tzaddikim, there is no tumah. So based on this, there are today people, Kohanim, who say, the Midrash, the Zohar says, by tzaddikim, there's no tumah. There's no tumah, I can go there. However, here he brings down, he says that's not la halacha. He says, if you turn to page 100 in the second paragraph on the left, he brings down in cases from the Gemara where it talks about that tzaddikim made sure that people know where the dead body is and where it's not. He says it's obvious that even the greatest tzaddikim become tameim upon their death. La halacha, they do become tameh. Therefore, no one has permission to say I'm a kohen and tzaddikim don't become tameh. We don't allow for that. We do la halacha. We hold that even tzaddikim become tameh. Look at the last paragraph over there. The response to Bikurei Yaakov, rule life is that there is no basis whatsoever to permit this practice, and it is forbidden by the Torah. Yaskel Avdi said this way. The poskim stand unanimous in their ruling. All the poskim that Kohanim may not visit any graves, even those of the greatest tzaddikim. The Maran Rishon Tzion discussed this issue at length in Yahaveh Da'at. So Lahalacha Ma'aseh, tzaddikim, kivarim also have tumah, and Kohanim cannot go there. Okay, page 100 on the top. Now Chachamim made it clear that even if it is murderous to visit the graves of tzaddikim and pray there, that is true only if doing so does not disturb one performance of the mitzvot. It is wrong to choose to take a trip to visit the graves of tzaddikim if it will prevent one from observing any of the mitzvot, especially if there's a Talmid Chacham who usually spends his day learning Torah, and now he wants to go to Kivrei Tzadikim. It's better for him to learn Torah and not go to the Kivrei Tzadikim. So therefore, on Rosh Hashanah, you have to really look at it. I don't know. It's not my minhag to go to Kvar Meir Rosh Hashanah. I don't know most people that Yosef you have. No, people don't. Apparently there are some who do this. Okay, next halacha 83. This is an important halacha. Yesh noagim litvol be'er Rosh Hashanah b'mikvat tahara. There are those who have the minhag to go to the mikvah er Rosh Hashanah. He says over here, "Va'asul levarech al tefillah zo, v'hamavarech avon bracha levatala beyado." And if a person does make a bracha, he's making a avera. He's not allowed to make a man. We don't make a bracha because we don't have a mitzvah to go into the mikvah today. Like the women do have the mitzvah after they're done being the nida period. They have a mitzvah and they make a bracha when they go into the mikvah. We don't have this, and we are not to make a bracha. And he continues on page one in the Hebrew on page 102, but here in the English, he writes as follows: this is the common custom. If it is difficult, okay, page 102, if it is difficult for someone to fulfill this custom altogether, it is not imperative for him to immerse in a mikvah. This thing to be tovel on Erev Rosh Hashanah is a minhag. It's a lesser of a minhag than it is Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Yom Kippur is more of a minhag. Erev Rosh Hashanah is a minhag, but it's a lesser of a minhag. Therefore, you don't have to go out of your way if you cannot make it. Right? You can't. If it's difficult, you don't have to go. And we all know that if you can't go, then you just take a shower, right? In the shower, you have the 9 kavim, and that works some sense as well. Here in 62, in the notes, Maran Rishon Tzion wrote that many poskim mentioned the custom of immersing the mikvah only before Yom Kippur. They did not mention the custom before Rosh Hashanah. Shulchan Aruch also didn't say before Rosh Hashanah. Shulchan Aruch says about Yom Kippur. Therefore, it's difficult for someone to fulfill this custom. He may refrain from doing so. So, Erev Rosh Hashanah going to the mikvah is on a lesser level than Erev Yom Kippur. Yes, Malkiel.
So if it's a chatzitza, it's not necessary really to take it off. It's still valid. Let's say the ring was still there; it wasn't taken off.
Because it's not a real tefillah. We don't really have to do this tefillah. So you don't have to be worried about chatzitza. You don't have to take
So
off
it
anything.
counts, though. It counts, though. The whole
It
case.
goes. It goes. He says it's better if you do take it off. It says it's better if you do take it off, but if you don't, it's okay. Because again, it's not al pi din. It's not because of the halacha that we are going to the mikvah. It's a minhag, and it's a minhag that's lesser than Erev Yom Kippur. Okay, so Erev Yom Kippur, the minhag is stronger, and you kind of really have to try to do it. Whereas Erev Hashana, you should go to the mikvah, but if you didn't, it's you don't have to make. If you can't, it's a little difficult, and you don't have to go. Next halacha 84. Isha shaya b'toch shiva nekim, a woman who's in the middle of her counting her 7 clean days, should not go to the mikvah. Likewise, no betulot, no unmarried woman should go to the mikvah on these days. Okay, so it used to be back in the days of when they ate b'tahara, they ate everything b'tahara. Even chulin they ate when they were pure. Young girls also used to go to the mikvah. Today, no young girls are allowed to go to the mikvah. We don't allow them until they're married. The reason being is because you might have some not nice people who say, "Oh, she's not a nida anymore. She went to mikvah," so they might think they can enjoy a relationship with her. So as such, Chachamim, it was right from the Ramban that it's forbidden for the betulot to go to mikvah, even if it's Rosh Hashanah, even Erev Yom Kippur. So it's important to remember that. Okay. And then the last halacha for Erev Rosh Hashanah, Pevav, page 103, it's forbidden to blow the shofar on the day before Rosh Hashanah, and especially in the shul. The person scheduled to blow shofar needs to practice. He may do so only in a room with the doors and windows shut. Okay, this is what Maran says, this is what Chamavadia says, that we have to make, what's the reason why we don't blow Erev Rosh Hashanah? So everyone's going to say to confuse the Satan. That's part of the reason. Chamavadia says the reason is because up until now, blowing the shofar all of Elul was reshut. You want to blow or you don't want to blow. There's no chiyuv to blow. Rosh Hashanah, that's the chiyuv in the Torah. So in order to make that hevdel, make that havdalah, make that distinction between the blowing of a reshut and the blowing of a chiyuv, we don't blow Erev Rosh Hashanah. And then you have the other one also with the convenience of time. We don't blow one day and then we do. But that's what he says the distinction is. And so if you need to blow to practice, you practice out of view, out of sight, and with the room, window, with the doors and windows shut. That's what he brings down. Also the Kappa Chaim ruled likewise as well. Okay. Any questions about Erev Rosh Hashanah? So far, so good. Okay. Some people have a minhag to like buy a knife on Erev Rosh Hashanah, or to, like to get a knife. What's the you side of that? What's the sharish of that? Parnasa. To sharpen the knife. To buy it and to sharpen it. Yeah, I know.
Not to use it, just to sharpen.
No, you use it. I'm using it the whole year.
The whole year.
Yeah,
You
I'm
buy
buying,
knife.
I'm buying a knife for challah.
A challah knife.
Challah knife, and I'm using it the whole year. And every year,
Every you get a new knife.
I'm getting a new one.
So what do you do with all those knives?
I have a bunch of maybe one year, or maybe even more.
Very good. One year I bought a knife and I went to Tobel at Erev Rosh Hashanah. I went to Mikvah and then I went to Tobel the knife. And I accidentally cut my hand. I don't know if anyone remembers, but I cut my hand real bad, like sharp cut. And I had to like hold it down and it was bad. But so if you're going to Tobel your knife, be careful. Just don't hurt yourself. Malkil, you had a question?
Yes. So on Erev Rosh Hashanah, since we do is not allowed, and we don't stack hanut. What about the person who wants to do teshuva right before Rosh Hashanah? Part of it is vidu, so he's allowed to tear up and have some tears and do teshuva, no? Or it's
so Erev Rosh Hashanah we don't do any more vidu. That's it. It's considered as a yom tov. We don't do vidu. If he wants to have hiruhei tshuva, thoughts of tshuva, it's good. But to do the vidu, we don't do anymore. Erev Rosh Hashanah. Once net hit, there's no more vidu, no more nefilat apayim. Okay, then it's already considered like a yom tov. Okay, let's move on to page 105. Here he has Dinei Adlakat Haner. Okay, so the bracha for Rosh Hashanah is similar to all brachot of Yom Tov. Shekidishayim Tzavit Tzivanu Lahadnik Ner Shel Yom Tov. Okay, now according to Chacham Ovadia, how do you do the bracha? When do you do the bracha? Right? What do most Ashkenazim do? They light the candles, close their eyes, right, and then they say the bracha. Shabbat, Yom Tov, you do regular. Okay, so Chacham Ovadia holds always Shabbat, Yom Tov, always. You say the bracha, and then you light the candle. Okay, because you have to do the bracha before you do the mitzvah. Same will apply for Yom Tov. Yom Tov, you don't really have that issue because you're allowed, you can't make a new fire, but you can make fire to fire. But even on Shabbat, the reason why a lot of Ashkenazim don't do that, and the Ramah brings it down this way, is because once they say the bracha, it's like if they took in Shabbat already, and then you're lighting, it's going to, that's why they light first, and then they make the bracha, and then you're ready in Shabbat. Chacham Ovadia, because of this, would say what to do. He says that the woman should make a statement once a year on Rosh Hashanah, or the first Shabbat after Rosh Hashanah, to say that when I make the bracha, I'm not accepting Shabbat. Okay? I accept Shabbat after make the bracha. So you make the bracha, then you light, and then you accept Shabbat. Okay? That's the way he says to do it. And he says that's what you should tell Sfaradim who come and ask, how should we noyeg? That's the way we should tell them to do. A lot of Sfaradim also do like Ashkenazim. They do the bracha, they do the lighting and then the bracha. But if they want to know correctly, the way from Ovadia says, bracha first, then to light. Now also, a lot of people, a lot of women are noyeg to say Shechianu when they light the candle. We don't. Ovadia says not to say. The woman should not say Shechianu v'kimayim v'gam l'zman hazeh. They're going to be yoytze in the kiddush with their husband. So they shouldn't say Shechianu v'kimayim v'gam l'zman hazeh. So if you're able to tell your woman, tell the wives not to say Shechianu at the candles, that's what should be. Right, and any. Say, look in the halacha bit on page 582. Yesh noshim shenogu levarach gam Shechianu b'shas laka, avol hanachon hu should loy levar Shechianu be'et hadlaka. Eli chavenu letzei dechova berachat Shechianu kishmoat berachat Shechianu b'shat hakiddush. It should be yoytze Shechianu at kiddush. They shouldn't make their own Shechianu. Okay, this applies to every yom. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the prayers of the night of page 111, prayers of the night of Rosh Hashanah. So we have, I think Hashem also, we have the piyut Achot Ketana, right? Achot Ketana is based on what the Gemara in Megillah 31 says, that Ezra was mitaken, that Parshat Kitivo should be read before Rosh Hashanah, because this way, you should end off the year and all its curses. And that's what the song Achot Ketana is. At the end of the year should end, and then the last stanza is Tachel Shana Ubirchuteya, and the new year should start with all its berachot. And that's the way we do it. Achot Ketana. Everyone knows there's different tunes for it. The Ashkenazim have their tunes, the Bukharians have their tunes, the Yerushalmis have their tunes. Everybody has their own tune. Everyone's like the way they are. On the second day, we Sephardim have a minhag to not sing Achot Ketana on the second day. Rather, we sing Chon Tachon. Chon Tachon Ambanecha. You find it in the Machzorim, and that's the song that we sing on the second day. And then we are noheg to say a parak in Tehillim, right? That's connected to the Rosh Hashanah, and then we start Aravit. Look on page 112, halacha 5, and that's what he says. After Achot Ketana, we read Mizmor 81. So Kapitel 81 in Tehillim, that's what we read. And in there it talks about Yosef HaTzadik getting free. That was on Rosh Hashanah, right? And a lot of things that relate to Rosh Hashanah is found in that parak of Tehillim. Halacha 6 on the second day, we sing Chon Tachon. And he says here, we should make Kaddish in the songs Yamim Noraim. Usually everyone uses them, the tunes for Ben Adam, right? However you do it, very good. With Palalim B'Kavana, Uvsimcha, you have to daven with Kavana and Simcha, happiness. Kadosh Hu Hayom La'Adonenu, because it's a Kodesh day. So it shouldn't be crying melodies. It should be happy melodies. Overall the Sephardic Selichot is pretty happy. If you listen to it, right? It's nice tunes. Okay. Turning to page 116. We say in the Shemona Esrei, we're going to be adding some parts to the Shemona Esrei, right? We're going to be adding. So go back to 115 for a moment. It says over here in Halacha 10, in the middle of Halacha 10, likewise, we add 4 short passages to the Amidah, right? Ve'zochenu lechaim, mikam mocha, and then we have at the end 2 more passages that we add. What is right here? Sefer HaChaim, right? Recha v'shalom, parnasa, tova, yeshua v'nechama, right? And then one before that. What is it? Right? So those are the 4 additions that we have. Now, in Halacha 12, page 116. Someone was reading the Shemona Esrei on Rosh Hashanah night, even anytime during any of that to make tshuva. He didn't say Zocheinu L'chaim. Skipped it. And he said, Melech Hazar again, Baruch Atah Hashem again, Abraham. What does he do now? Does he go back? He doesn't need to go back. And Machzarin Oto. You don't go back.
Why?
You don't go back. It's not Me'akiv. Zocheinu L'chaim, not in the end of the bracha. It's not something that if you don't say, that you're not Yotzei of the Shemona Esrei. You are. Therefore, you do not go back for it. V'mshachach lo'mer Zocheinu L'chaim, v'niskar achash amar Baruch Atah Hashem, enu rashai l'sayam l'mdeni chukecha. You cannot say l'mdeni chukecha, make it a pasuk in Tehillim. K'dei l'chzor lo'mar Zocheinu L'chaim. Shekivan shum min devarim she'em machzin oto, asur la'afsik a pasuk b'dei Baruch Atah Hashem l'mdeni chukecha, v'lo nemar tikun zeh el b'darim shemachzirin oto alehem. The only time you're allowed to say l'mdeni chukecha is if it's something that you're going to have to go back, so then you can say that and fix it up. But here you don't have to go back if you mixed it. So if you miss Zocheinu L'chaim and you're ready starting Baruch Atah Hashem, don't go back. That's it. If you didn't get up to Baruch Atah Hashem, you're just saying Melech Oizer Mashiach. Oh, I remember. Then you can go back. That's not a problem because you're just repeating the words here. But once you say Baruch Atah Hashem, there is no going back. You do not have to go back, and you're not allowed to try to go back. Okay. V'mshachach lo'mar Zocheinu L'chaim. V'niskar achash shechosam Baruch Atah Hashem again Abraham. So you're finished, Baruch Atah Hashem again Abraham, right? You didn't start the next Baruch Atah Gibor. You're in the middle now. And in the middle of Brachot, if you missed it, something, and you can pay right after. Here you cannot do that. Because the first 3 Brachot is considered one set of Brachot, so you can't be mafsik with other things in the middle. So once you finish the Bracham again Abraham, right, you cannot add anything in between. You have to go straight to Atah Gibor. So if you miss Zocheinu L'chaim, if you miss Mikamocha, if you miss Uchtol L'chaim Tovim Kol B'nei B'reitecha, you miss the Sefer HaChaim, and you already said the Bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, you do not go back for it. You do not have to go back for any of them. They're not me'akif to the field. Okay? Now, we're noheg, that we have in Atah Kadosh, Rosh Hashanah, I think when it's expired also, you have Uchein, right? We say Uchein 4 times there. Uchein. This is based on, I believe it's based on the Arizal, that we do it this way. The person has to make sure to do it. And we end off the bracha. This follows the instructions of the Arizal. The reason is the one who put it in Uchein. We do it 4 times. What does he say here? If someone erred while reciting the Amidah Rosh Hashanah, omitted the passage of Uchein altogether, and realized error after he recited the words of Baruch Atah Hashem, so he didn't say Uchein. Oh, I forgot to say Uchein. He does not go back. He continues, Amelech HaKadosh. You do not fix it because it's not me'akif to the tefillah. If you missed it, it doesn't take away from the tefillah. In that sense that you're not Yotzeh. And you cannot do it afterwards either. Because it would be again considered a hefsek. Because you don't have to say if you missed it, You can't do it afterwards. So that's why it's very important to look in your machzer on Rosh Hashanah. You know, the siddur you think you know by heart. The machzer we definitely don't know by heart. So don't read out of the machzer. The whole time, look in your machzer. What happens? Bracha shlishit chotem hamelech hakadosh. Supposed to say melech hakadosh. The im ta'av hatam ha'el hakadosh. He said ha'el hakadosh. Uvteich kidei dibur niskar bar melech hakadosh yotza. As long as within teich kidei dibur, that's like, right? Shem lechem Rebbe. That's teich kidei dibur. So it's like a second, 2 second max, right? If you fix it that, so you said ha'el hakadosh, hey, melech hakadosh, you're good. But if you said ha'el hakadosh, ha'el hakadosh, that's already too late. You have to go back to Shemona. Shemona Esrei over. Shemona Esrei over. Ki shloshat barachot rishanot, kulam barachat hashem v'nidot k'baracha achad, and the din is like one bracha. Hikach hatoeh ba'achat mehen, dino nachzot l'rosh tefillah. Therefore, if you made a mistake, you have to go back to the end. Now, on Rosh Hashanah, im nistafek. Betfilato im amar melech hakadosh el hakadosh. I'm in a suffix. Right, Halacha 16. I don't know. I said a melech hakadosh. I said el hakadosh. I'm not sure. Betfilot that I said you made tshuva. Dino shetzarich lachzor rosh tefillah. You have to, during a session you made tshuva, you have to go back to the beginning if you're not sure what you said, because most probably you said what you're used to saying, el hakadosh. However, here he says, ulam betfilot sheshanav yom kippurim, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Shemosefim b'bracha ata kadosh, ubchein kadash shimcha, ubchein tempachtecha. Right? Since in Rosh Hashanah, in the ata kadosh, you add all these extra things. In Machash Amar Kol Zeh Al Seder, if you said everything, you said all the ubcheins. Now you're nistafek achar kach in b'siyum bracha chatar melech kadosh or ha'el kadosh. B'zeh lo shayich lomer she'amar keharegel lo shana b'chol yimot hashana. Now you cannot say he said it as he always says it, because you already said Ata Kadosh different. You already said Uchein, Ten Kadosh, Uchein, Ten Pachtecha, Uchein, Uchein. You never say Uchein every day. So therefore, I cannot say that you ended off regularly Ha'el HaKadosh. It's possible to say you said HaMelech HaKadosh. So we say Hoyel v'Hoysev Kol HaTosefot Tov B'Bracha Ma She'ein Omer Kan B'Chol Shana Kula V'L'chein Adin B'Zeh Shem Sufek Ein Choyzer. Therefore, you don't go back. Therefore, if you know you said ubcheins and you're not sure if you said el or a melech, then you don't go back. Okay, but if he missed all ubcheins, he missed all the ubchein, and he said Baruch Atah Hashem, he doesn't know if he said a melech kadosh el kadosh. So now he has to go back, because since he didn't change the nusach of the bracha, we have to assume he said it like every day, and he said ha'el kadosh. Okay, fine. A lot of more of the halachot of the Chamavadya that Rav Yitzchak Yosef brings here from Chamavadya is a lot more textual on the nusach of the words of the tefillah. So, for example, saying shilton instead of shah shilton instead of shah shaltan, and other things like that he brings here. We're going to skip now to page 123. When Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah comes together, we say Zichron Teruah, right? Zichron Teruah b'Havamikra Kodesh. If you said on Shabbat, if not this year's not Shabbat, but if it was Shabbat Rosh Hashanah, and you said Yom Teruah, you didn't say Zichron Teruah, you're still Yotzei. You don't have to go back and fix Zichron Teruah to Yom Teruah. And same thing, in Mechar Hashanah b'Mei Achol, if it's a regular day like it's this year, Monday, Tuesday, right? And instead you said Zichron Trua, remembrance of the blowing of the shofar, instead of saying Yom Trua, you don't go back for this. This is not a big mistake, because the truth is it is a Zichron Trua and it is a Yom Trua. So it works for either one. That's halacha 29 and 30. Moving to halacha 35 on page 124. So we, interestingly, we Sfaradim, usually throughout the whole year, on Shabbat, we say the nusach Besim Chelkeinu B'Toratach. Right? As we say on Shabbat, Besim Chelkeinu B'Toratach. Shkazim, we say the same. chalkeinu b'toratach, or you say v'sim. Let's take a look.
All right. Get on there. I'm just gonna sit here. There.
Yes. So on Shabbat, right? Shabbat, the middle bracha. What do we say? What do they say? See, they say v'sein chalkeinu b'toratach. Right? We say v'sim, and then it comes Hashana Yom Kippur. We also say v'ten. Right? Same thing. V'ten. We say v'ten chalkeinu b'toratach. You look at all machzorim, it switches it from v'sim to v'ten. He says over here, although both translate into English, portion, give us the sim chalkeinu, give us a portion v'ten chalkeinu b'toratach. He says the word sim means a minimal portion, small amount. And the word of v'ten means a large amount. So he brings over here. He says, okay, what does he say over here? So over here, he brings, in English, he brings this down. Sim can mean a minimal portion. On these critical days, we wish to emphasize our plea for the maximum. However, there's a valid basis to use the sim, even on Yom Kippur. Therefore, someone doesn't want to change it, they don't have to change it. But if you look in all our machzorim, you'll see they change the sim till the 10. I think all the Sephardic machzorim I saw says the 10. Why dafka we use sim on the rest of the year? Moran Rosh and Sion, look at note 83, demonstrated the word sim is used in many of our prayers. Hu yiftach libenu b'torato v'yasim b'libenu ahavato v'yirato sim shalom tova uvracha, right? Yiratzon shit sim shalom. So he says sim is also correct. He says here, he brings from Rav Yosef Chaim Sofer in Sefer Peritov, the word sim also sounds like sam, like a drug, like a poison. So you don't want to use that on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, so you change it to v'ten. It's another reason we would change it. Okay, so that's what the Machzorim say. Moving on to page 126, halacha 38. Rosh Hashanah, unlike all the Yamim Tovim, where we usually end off Mikadesh Yisrael v'Hazimanim, the bracha, right, the middle bracha, the bracha for Kiddush. On Rosh Hashanah, we say Mikadesh Yisrael v'Yom Hazikaron. And if a person made a mistake and said Mikadesh Yisrael v'Hazimanim, he did not fulfill his obligation. As he says over here, he has to start all the way back if you finish Mona Esrei. If you remembered after you finished Mona Esrei, he said, "Oh, I said Mikadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim, like a Yom Tov." You're not Yotze Tefillah. You have to go back. If you remember before the end of Shmona Esrei, then you just go back to that section, to the last section right before the Chatimah, before that bracha. You can go back to there and fix it up, but you have to pay attention. The same thing is going to be for Kiddush, same halacha. If you say you said Mikadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim, you weren't Yotze Kiddush Rosh Hashanah. You have to say Mikadesh Yisrael v'Yom Hazikaron. Okay, that's halacha number 38. Page 127, halacha 40. Okay, we mentioned this morning, but we'll say it again now. So 39 and 40. Let's start with 39. We say Oseh Hashalom with a hey. Remez l'shem ha'malach Safriel, because we're saying it as a remez to the malach Safriel. Malach Safriel, shu b'gematria Hashalom. Safriel is gematria Hashalom. V'malach hazeh who's cipher, he's the cipher, he's the scribe. V'chotev et b'nei adam b'sefer Chaim. He's the one who writes people in to the Sefer HaChaim. V'aseh dimei tshuva. Misha shachach loimer Hashalom. But if you forgot to say Hashalom, not the end of the world. Em bekach klum, you have no worry. Ki gam tevat oseh gematria Safriel. V'rachmana liba. And then Hashem knows where to put everybody's thoughts in the right place. And therefore, you don't have to go out of, oh, I missed it or not. It's okay. Now, when do you say Hashalom? So Shar Kavanot tells us you say it only in Shmona Esrei. That's what he says. Say it during the Shmona Esrei. You finish Shmona Esrei, you say Oseh HaShalom. What about Kaddish? So he says here, halacha, B'shar Kaddishim, Kegon Yisrael ve'eshlama, ein tzorech l'sayem el Oseh Shalom b'mromav. You end it off regularly, Oseh Shalom, not Oseh HaShalom. There's always going to be someone in the shul who's going to say Oseh HaShalom. You got to tell him it's Oseh Shalom. Okay? Kilashon HaKatuv, as it says in Iyov, Oseh Shalom. Avel b'Kaddish titkabal. Now, this is where the exception comes for Spadanim. We say Kaddish titkabal, when we say titkabal after Shehu Achar Chazarat Ashiach Tzibur, which comes after the Hazara of the Shmona Esrei, of Shacharit, and Mincha, Musaf. When you say Kaddish titkabal, Harehu Kisiyum Tfilat Yudchet. It's like as if you finish Shmona Esrei. So therefore, She'az Hu Poseh Shosh Pesiyot, V'chein Yomar Gam Kein Oseh HaShalom. So the Shliach Tzibur, which just did Shmona Esrei out loud, when he does Kaddish Titkabal, he used to say Oseh HaShalom. Umihu, B'Kaddish Titkabal Shel Aravit, Yesh Lomar Oseh Shalom. But when it comes to Aravit, that Kaddish Titkabal does not come after a Chazara. Therefore, Yesh Lomar, there's to say Oseh Shalom, B'li Tosefet Hey Yetera, without the extra hay, because it's not a Kaddish Titkabal that comes after a Chazara of the Shmona Esrei.
So the silent Amidah and Titkabal, that's it. Everything else, Birkat Hamazon, all these things.
That's right. Every year I get the same question, Birkat Hamazon. Right. We do not. All the other Kaddishim that everyone else says in the Shul, Yeh Shema, Yisrael, we do not say Oseh HaShalom. We only say in the Shmona Esrei, all the Shmona Esreis, and Kaddish Titkabal, but what the Yalkut Yosef here is saying, only the Kaddish Titkabal after a repetition of the Shmona Esrei. That means not during Aravit. On a regular day Aravit, we would not say Oseh HaShalom. Now, Friday night, we do Me'en Sheva. We do a small Shmona Esrei kind of, right? A mix of the 7 brachot into one. So it's as if it's a repetition. There are those who say Oseh HaShalom. Okay? There are those like you, Makil, that said every Kaddish Titkabal to say Oseh HaShalom, including Aravit and including Selichot. Because after Selichot, we also say Kaddish Titkabal, right? So they were those that there say Oseh HaShalom. The truth is, if someone says Oseh HaShalom in a Kaddish Titkabal, and it's Aravit or Selichot, you don't have to go wild on them. Fine, it's Oseh HaShalom. If the guy said Oseh Shalom and didn't say HaShalom, also you don't have to go wild on him. It's also fine. This is we're knowing to say Oseh HaShalom at these places, but it's not like it's not a me'akif to the tefillah, not me'akif to the kaddish yotze. You can say amen to it, no problems. But we do not say it Oseh Shalom by all the other kaddishim. That's important to make sure that people don't say it. They make an announcement in the beginning. Now, Ashkenazim, they do say Oseh Shalom by all the kaddishim. And Rishmul, they say Oseh Shalom. Ashkenazim also have a minhag to say La'ela La'ela. We do not know how to say La'ela La'ela. One of the reasons is because when we say the answer, we're supposed to answer everything to 28 words. That's what Chavaji says. You read the 28 words based on Kabbalistic points. So if you add an extra La'ela, you're going to get the 29. Right? So what do some do? Instead of saying min kol birchata, they say mikol birchata. Instead of saying min kol birchata, they say mikol birchata. So you take min kol, you made it to one line words. Now you can say la'ela la'ela. But we are not knowing to say la'ela la'ela. Okay. And then in the Yalkut Yosef, he says, this is important to know for all of us. Talmud yeshiva mebnei edot hamizrach shekfalav yeshiva im Ashkenazim. Someone is a Sephardi davening in Ashkenazi shul. This applies all year round, not just Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. Yitpalel b'nusach Sfaradim k'vi shenogim abotav va'asur lo. No lashon here. Asur lo lishnot et hamiftah shelo v'yitpalel b'miftah Ashkenazi. He's not allowed to change his havara, his pronunciation. He has to keep his Sephardic pronunciation. Shneimar al titosh Torah tivecha. Can't forget your mother's Torah. So therefore, you should pray in the Sephardic pronunciation. I tell you, I've many years learned in Yeshiva Torah V'Dad and other places like that. I always kept to my own pronunciation, and no one made 2 cents about it. No one made an idea. One time I was in the Aguda over here, and they gave me an aliyah. So I did everything in Sephardic style. Some guy came over, he said, "Wow, I love the way you do it. Like the whole bracha was a song, and not just one part or another part. It's like a nice whole sing song for the whole part. Everyone enjoys it. You keep to your nusach, you keep to your way. That's the way it should be done." Halacha Mem Dalid, page 129. I don't know if Ashkenazim have this. I don't know if the Temanim have this, but you'll tell me if you do. We have Minha Yafeh, Apil Mukubalim, Lomar Bele Rosh Hashanah Kodem Kaddish. The last Kaddish, we say LeDavid Mizmor LaHashem Haaretz Mu'ah, Shehu Segula, Shelot Chesed Parnasato Mizanotav B'Meshach Kol Yemot HaShanah. We do opening the Heichal Parnasa, and thousands. You all do it also, right? But you guys also do it, right? Right before the Aleinu, yeah, to Parnasa. You guys do it also, Temanim? As far as we go there, right? But yes, so that's a minhag to do. I once when I was in Or Natan, they wanted me to speak before the auctioning the Heichal Parnasa, to get people more interested in buying. So I was on my feet thinking, and I said, what's the hope shot? Selling the Heichal Parnasa on Rosh Hashanah night. I said, what's part of Rosh Hashanah? We're davening for everything that we need during the year. One of the things that we're saying when we need stuff, we're saying we need it for you, Hashem. That's why we're asking for everything. Like Chana said, I want my son for you. So what we do on Rosh Hashanah night, we sell the Parnasah. We're saying, Hashem, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Right? We're showing you that our money is for you. So the Parnasah is for you. We're giving our money to you. You're seeing that we're using it for the right things. So give us more money so we'll be able to use it correctly. And this way, we got the selling a little bit higher. I didn't get any commission for that sale, but it would have been nice. But that is I think that is the idea. You're really showing what you're using your money for. You're bringing shefa to everyone when you're doing that. Okay, this is an important halacha. Hatfilot Rosh Hashanah hayu b'simcha v'tov levav. A person has to do it b'simcha and a happy heart. Today, I had 2 young boys come to my house. They're taking over my spot in Or Natan. I was 1, now they're taking 2 people to take over my spot. It's a good feeling. But so they came over and they were asking me how to do tefillot. So I told them, certain tefillot do this way, that way, that way. And then one of the tefillot I told them, they said, but it sounds too happy for Rosh Hashanah. I said, what do you mean? So I took out the Yosef. It says, at Rosh Hashanah, you b'shimcha v'tov levav, u'ne'ima, kiddusha, u'metoch kavanah shlema, ki b'tachim anachnu, b'yishot HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shektivenu v'ychtivenu l'chaim tovim, v'lo ka'otam shemeim atzmam l'dei b'chiyah v'tefillot Rosh Hashanah. And not like those who cause themselves to cry on Rosh Hashanah. Sharei Hashanah yom simchahu, it's a happy day. Ch'mo shneimar, samachta b'chagecha, and one of your chagim is Rosh Hashanah. And he brings here the whole story of Nehemiah. In Nehemiah, that Ezra Sefer gathered everyone together. He told them today Rosh Hashanah, and you're gonna have a din, l'mavis and l'chaim. And all the people started to cry. Right, so Navi says. So in the Ksubim, and then Ezra and Nehemiah told everyone, hello, today Rosh Hashanah. You don't cry. It's Yom Simcha. And it's the day you send food to people and you have a good time, and you have your b'teach, your trust in Hashem. Now the only issue with this is Rav Chaim Vital and Shara Kamanot on the same page where it says to say Ota Hashalom, he brings over here that the Arizal cried very much, a lot of tears on Rosh Hashanah when he was davening. In fact, the Arizal taught that someone who is not inspired to weep on Rosh Hashanah has a not good neshama. So here we go. Ezra Nehemiah is saying you can't cry. Al-Chaz says you can't cry. And the reason says you have to cry. So the Maran Rishon LeTzion, Chamavaji explained that the practice of the Arizal is not a stira of what we're saying that it's a Yom Simcha. The Arizal also agreed that Rosh Hashanah is a day of Simcha. You should not be crying. But if someone spontaneously is brought to tears while praying, he has hirei tshuva, he has hirei of changing himself. Not because he caused himself to cry and he's pinching himself, something like that. It comes upon him. Then this is what the Arizal meant. So you don't cause yourself to cry, but rather you come to Torah Lev of Simcha, and if you have the right kavanah, it might lead you to have a little bit of a feeling for things, and you might come to cry. That's the way Chamavaji explains the Arizal and the halacha, and that's the way it should be done. We don't come to cry. We're not crying people. We're believing in Hashem that He's going to help us in the judgment. Here he says in halacha 46. נהגו בכל תפוצות ישראל שהשרצים ומתפלל ראש השנה בניגון ובנעימה מיוחדת לכבוד החג. אלא שהקדש והקדושה נאמרים בניגון השיחות ביוצאים של הימים הנוראים. Kaddish and Kedusha is said in the songs of Sichot. Everything else, you do it nicely. As it says, Vigilu bir'ada. Bir'ida, Mukom Gila, Sham Teh Bir'ada. We have Gila, you have joy, celebration, you also have trembling. Now, this is really what the whole Yehudi, this is him. What is this? We always have two emotions, right? We love Hashem and we fear Hashem at the same time. Right. Not by anybody else. Right. That's the whole thing of Yahadut with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is simcha and fear at the same time. It's not normal. That's right. It's not over anything else. Okay. Page 582. This is an important halacha as well. Now we said already that Kaddish, that we said the Kiddush, the bracha is page 133. The Kiddush, the bracha is Mekadesh Yisrael v'Yom HaZikaron. Akil, you had a question? No, okay. Mekadesh Yisrael v'Yom HaZikaron. Then we say Shehechyan on Kiddush. Now, there is a lot of talk. Is Rosh Hashanah one long 48 hours? Or Rosh Hashanah 2 days? Seems to be, Halakha says it's one long day. So what do you do on the second night? Do you say Shehecheyanu or not? Usually here outside Red Yisrael, we have 2 days, we'll say Shehecheyanu on both. It's like it's 1 day twice. But if it's one long day, then you say Shehecheyanu one time. It's one long day. Why would you say Shehecheyanu a second time? If it's 2 days, you say Shehecheyanu twice. If it's 1 day, Shehecheyanu once. So what do we do? So the Paiskim Rashi says you do say Shehecheyanu again. Rashi says you say Shehecheyanu again. There are some who say no, some say you don't. So because of this Machloket Rishonim, Machloket Poskim, what to do? The Rosh says an Eitzah. He says what you do is you get a Pri Chadash, you put a new fruit on the table, and you on the second day you put a new fruit on the table, and you say Shehecheyanu on the Kiddush. You're also having in mind on the fruit, but it's for the Kiddush. It's not for the fruit, because then it's to be a hefsek in the middle of Kiddush. So but it's there as well. Malkiel, so our uncle Avner, right, my brother-in-law Avner, what he does was based on the Kaf HaChaim. The Kaf HaChaim says the pomegranate is a new fruit that you probably didn't have yet. So he says, even though there's a Hirat Ton to say on the first night that you should eat the pomegranate, right? Kaf HaChaim would not eat the pomegranate on the first night. He would save it for the second night, and he would make Kiddush Shehecheyanu on it, and then he would use it on the second night for the Simanim, and not on the first night. That was the way my brother-in-law is knowing. Ravner is knowing that way. I'm not knowing that way. My father we had pomegranate on the first night and on the second night. Now, Allah L'maisa, what happens if you don't have a new fruit? You don't have a new fruit. You don't have a new baguette. You don't have anything new. Do you make the Shehecheyanu or not? In the end of the day, you will make the Shehecheyanu anyway. Okay, so if you don't have something else to have Kavanah on, you still make the Shehecheyanu. So therefore, you make the Shehecheyanu, it's good to get a new fruit. Now, the only issue with fruits is, today it's very hard to find a fruit that you can say Shehecheyanu on. But exactly, all year you have everything there. So then you really don't have a new fruit that you say Shehecheyanu on. It's hard to take a fruit and say I can Shehecheyanu on it, because you have to be something that you can't find. It's only in this season. It's not from the season before. But today, I'm pretty sure you can find a pomegranate around this eating. Yeah, so I don't know how you go about saying you can say Shehecheyanu on these fruits. You have a star fruit. You have. Or wear a new suit. I put on a new suit before Kiddush, right? And for the second night. And this way you'll have it. Again, if you don't have any of these things you can still say the Shechianu, no question at all. You can still say the Shechianu as well. Now, when it comes to the Simanim, you know that there are actually two Gemarot when it talks about Simanim. One in Horayot, and in Horayot it says you have to look at the fruit. Look at the fruit. And in Keritot it says you have to eat the food. So you have two gersot in the Gemara. One that says you have to eat the simanim, and one that says you have to look at the simanim. So here the halacha starts. Minig Yisrael ha'achol b'shnei halelot shel Rosh Hashanah minei perot v'rikot sheyesh behem remez l'siman toiv l'chol yimot hashana. And I already told the Ben Ish Chai's minig is to do it in the morning as well. Night, morning, 4 times. Mishum the simanam miltahi. V'chmosh amu b'gemara. U'mi she'en yachol le'achol simanim yereh otam v'yomer yehi ratzon. If you can't eat it, for whatever reason, you don't have to eat it. You just say the hiratzon like that. So very, very important. You just say hiratzon. Very important. There's some people use spinach, some people use black-eyed peas and stuff like that for the simanim. These things need to be checked. And if the woman don't know how to check it, or you don't know how to check it, and you're going to have Rosh Hashanah, you shouldn't eat it. They have bugs in them. Therefore, you can say hiratzon looking at them and without eating it. And I had cases where people said, we spoke about this that night in Rosh Hashanah in the shul, and someone said, my wife didn't check it. She's giving spinach. Chamabaji said, instead of beets, you use spinach. So you use spinach. Spinach needs to be checked. Black eyed peas need to be checked. So I told him, go home and tell your wife, today's Rosh Hashanah. We're going to be very extra careful. Probably then the rest of the year, whatever. We're extra careful. We're not going to eat the bugs. We're going to say the hiratzon by just looking at them. I'm sure your wife wants a good year also, and therefore no one's going to come to him. Well, good. Everything will be fine. You can do it b'seichel. And then for the rest of the year, you send it to class and let her learn how to check the bugs. Okay. Now, how do we know? I think most of Klal Yisrael is knowing to make kiddush, make hamotzi, we eat a kazai, the bread, and then we start the simanim. That's the way most of Klal Yisrael is knowing. There are those who make the simanim before hamotzi. You simanim do before hamotzi. What's it called?
Every Shabbat is like.
Oh, you eat something before hamotzi? Make extra brachot. Here. Okay. Yeah, we used to do the chapak before hamotzi. Before hamotzi. Yeah, there are those who used to. By Bukharins also they used to do it, especially by Yishvos and stuff like that. We used to go Shabbat day. But it's a lot of questions if you need to make a bracha achona afterwards before you make the hamotzi. That's why we're not noig to do that. That's why we make the hamotzi and then we start. Now, because you start that way, so now you're going to have to make a hadama on the hadama food. Right. We who are making hamotzi first, when those are annoying to make hamotzi first, we do not make hadama on, because everything we make on the fruits. The tamar is a date. We don't eat it with bread. Right. But all the hadama stuff are cooked. All right. It's cooked squash, which you eat part of the meal. It's cooked beans, which is part of the meal. So you don't have to make a hadama. Right. Some people still have this minhag to take ananas, or take a pineapple, or take a watermelon, and they cut it up and give it to everybody to make a bracha hadama. You really don't have to do it if you're making hamotzi first. So you make hamotzi, by us we make hamotzi, and then we take the tamar, we take the date, and we make a borei priya 8. So you eat one, and then you say the hiratzon, you eat the second one. Okay. Now, what's the simanim in the order that the Chamovadia and Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef brings here in the Yalkut Yosef? So the first thing is the date. The second one is rubaya. Rubaya is black-eyed peas. Then it's karti. Karti is leeks. Silka. Now this is silka. This is what everyone pretty much translates as beets. And Chamovadia says that's a mistake. It's not beets, it's actually spinach. So silka is spinach and not lavlevu. Lavlevu is the Bukharian word for beets. It's not beets, it's spinach. And by me, my wife puts both on the table. I like to have spinach, and she puts the beets as well. So I eat one and I eat the other one right away. And so it's a sova siman, so it's okay. Then kara. Kara is squash. This is the squash that we eat. Okay, squash, pumpkin, squash, butternut squash, whatever type of squash you use. Gourd, another word in English. Gourd, squash. Then rimon, that's your pomegranate. Then tapua, then the apple. Now, most people sing the song "Dip the apple in the honey."
That's first apple.
The order, yeah, the order might be different. Yeah, the order might be different in some places.
It was the guest in some house. They say that first they do the apple.
Okay, it's also my name. Really, it's okay either way you do it. Ben Ish Chai says not to dip it into honey.
Yeah, that's what you said yesterday.
Yeah, not to dip it into honey.
Yeah.
He says no honey. There's no honey. Even for the bread, you don't dip it into honey either. It's always sugar. He says you would take the apple and cook it into sugar, right? And then you would serve that. And what's the reason? He says because honey doesn't go on the mizbeach or something like that, and therefore I don't know if sugar goes either. Here he brings that none of the Rishonim say you can't eat honey, so you should be okay. People do eat it, and they say honey. That's fine. That's what he brings over here. Rabbi Biton brings on the bottom here.
They let the post honey. They let the
Here he brings down. Sugar is based on the possibility that non-Jewish beef farmers might add some non-kosher ingredient to the honey. So what we do, we have honey on the table, and we also have cooked sugar, apples. So we have both. This way, everybody's gets their thing.
Somebody told me that you supposed to first dip in salt, then.
Yes, that is true. Also,
Right.
that's true.
It says over here.
You always have to dip into salt. Always.
They bring it down in the Shemar Mitzvah.
Yeah.
It says over here that according to the Kabbalah, there's midat hadin.
That honey is not midat hadin. Ah.
It shouldn't be stirred up in Rosh Hashanah because it's yellow, golden color.
Uh-huh. So therefore, people don't do it,
Just
right?
like they said, don't eat the school.
Which is what's
Spicy.
spices. Yeah. Yeah, they say that to eat spicy on Rosh Hashanah.
Not that they're many.
They can't eat it otherwise, right? Well, then spicy is sweet. The next thing is Rosh HaKeves, the head of the lamb. And we say to be the Rosh Lo Zanav, like we had on the pasuk in the parsha, right? Rosh Lo Zanav. And that's the minhag. Those are the main things. What else? Right. So some have a minhag Rosh Dog. Hashem also have to eat gezer, carrots, right? They have also carrots that people do.
The dog is coming with the carrots in it.
Only on the gefilte fish, the carrot on top. But they have a year that's on for gezer also. I saw for that. Right. Spicy. Some people have the custom to refrain from spicy charifim or chamutzim. Rak davarim metukim. Everyone becomes Ashkenaz on Rosh Hashanah. We all eat sweet food. Shetiyeh kol shana tova metuka. Shana tova metuka. He brings over here on page 145 that the people eat etrog, and there's a hiratzon to say shnei hadurim b'mitzvot. There's also a minhag. Now, fish, there's 2 ways to go about fish. We talked about this. Daga. People don't eat it because they worry that it sounds like worry. And people do eat it, and then they have a hiratzon, that hiratzon shnifre v'nibre kedagim. So you have also that. So personally, my family, we like fish. So we eat fish, and we say hiratzon. This way, we eat the fish before the meat, though. We eat the fish, and then something in between, and then we'll go to the meat and make the hiratzon again. For that. Here he says as follows. This is where you're talking about the honey and the salt. Yesh nohagim lahatvil parsuta v'tziyah b'devash o b'sukar. Lomar tiel lo shana haba aleinu mituka v'tova. So you should have a minhag to dip bread into sugar or to honey. V'hainu, this is she'achar shetavel b'rusot ha'motzi melech matvilim b'devash o b'sukar l'simanto v'ochel. That's after you dip it into salt. So you must dip it into salt. And then into sugar or to honey. We should not dip it into honey without salt first. It's to sweeten the strict judgment when you dip it into salt. Therefore, you shouldn't take away from any Suda. So dipping into salt is a biggie side. It takes away from it's matik, sweetens the gibburot, the strict judgments. So that's what we have to do that. What else? Meat of the lungs. Some people eat lungs, animal lungs. You ever heard of this? We do. Bukhari, we have shosh basal, right? They take the lungs and they dip it into honey.
It's hard to find sometimes good one.
Hard to find, yeah. My
We
mother-in-law
eat,
always,
but not every.
my mother-in-law always got it from Avner. So my brother-in-law's a sheikh, so we get everything from him. So yeah, and there's a whole thing that they say that the haria is the lung. So re'ena ve'onenu v'riva hivenu mehelig golenu goshel machimecha v'yiratzon v'nashim mekenu v'kilotenu shita'ir enenu v'ma'or toratach. So there's a hiratzon for lungs. So if you want to add lungs on, if you want to add lungs, tastes, by the way, very good lungs. I got to tell you, it tastes good. Lungs taste very well. Nuts. Yesh medaktikim shalol lechol egozim. We don't. So there are those who are careful, page 148, not to eat any nuts, because egos has the same gematria as chet. We're very careful when it comes to Hashana. We don't want to have anything to do with sin, so we stay away from egozim as well. He says over here, "Mikol malkam beugo tafshil shemorav bo egozim tachunim she'enu nekirim kol kach." If you grinded up the nuts and you put them to cake, rak tamam nikar ketzat yesh lahatir. There's what to be matir. And then he says, however, the whole world is machmer, even on ground nuts. So when I said this halacha to my wife yesterday, she said, no nuts at all. No ground nuts, no chopped nuts, no nuts. There was any nuts at all. Well, actually, not, so you don't use it at all. Then this is very important. A gematria egos, and also because of the mucus. It causes mucus in the thing. Yeah, he brings that down as well. Anger. He's a hair shelo yichos. The person should be very careful not to become angry. The levad chaymer is the kas who kashe bekozman. It's the worst the whole time. Inei meyom Hashana hu enu siman tov laadam. You have to be very careful for this. והאישה צריכה להיות זריזה לערוך השולחן מלאכתו ומפה יפה קודם שיבוא בעלה באמת לכנסת. To make sure the husband doesn't get angry, the woman has to prepare the table early. I'm just reading what he says here. This is a good siman. The table should be ready. Okay. I remember when I was growing up in my father's house, my mother, always the table was ready. Nowadays, I go to people's houses and a husband comes home, he sets the table. I don't know where this came from. I answered, if she can't set it up, it's a different story. But if she's fine and everything. The what? If he comes home, he doesn't see it's ready. He shouldn't angry. He doesn't say to help. Rather, he says to just he's small, just to calm down and don't get too picky. But yes, obviously you could help. Okay, you can help if need be. Sometimes it's hard for them and stuff like that. And you obviously understand you're a person with seichel, but everyone should try on Hashana to make sure whatever bothers somebody, don't do those stuff. Go out of the way to help and make it easier. Ben Zaymer Omer Ezehu Givar Hakovesh et Yitzhak. Who is the real Givar? The person who controls his own Yetzir. Shneimar Tov Erech Hapayim Givar uMoshe Barucho Melkod Ir. Ilah Ein HaOlam Mitkayem El B'Shvil Misha Olam Et Atzmo B'Sha'at Meriva Shneimar Ola Eretz Al Belima. So you have here that someone who conquers his anger. That's the most important part. It brings over here that it's important to do the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah during the meals, to try to do how many perakim is Rosh Hashanah? 4 perakim. So if you do 1 perak each meal, you force Seudot, you'll finish all the Masech Rosh Hashanah, all the Mishnayot. Yes, Malkil.
With translation, right? Obviously, it's not like just read it over. That's not what it means.
You want to have some understanding. You want to have some understanding of what you're reading in Masech Rosh Hashanah.
No, it's just go through the Gemara with the Mishnayot, right?
Yeah, just the Mishnayot. Yeah. You can get the art scroll. They have the Schachtensteins elucidated, the gray one. It's very simple translation, and you can just do that. The Yad Avraham series from the Mishnah is very good commentary, but it's more commentary there. So if you want to just go through all the meals, I would suggest you can want the English, use the Shaftanstein elucidated, or you can use the Hakati. They have it in English also, a nice one. But the art school one is much more easier on the eyes and easier to understand. Okay, we have a few more minutes, so we'll talk a little bit about the Shaharit prayers on Rosh Hashanah. So the big thing is Chacham Ovadiah's thing, and I think people should be knowing this way. We should be knowing this way is when they open the Heichal for Sefer Torah, many have the minhag to say Amunai, Amunai, Kelarhum Hanun, Ahbam Hazamenu Tahas 3 times, right? And they bring down a lot of machzarim. They have the tefillot for this and all that. Chacham Ovadiah was of the opinion that is not to be done on Yom Tov. It takes away from the simcha of Yom Tov, and he brings many opinions that the Beit El and other yeshivot and other people that held that way. He says it's a machloket, v'shev al ta'aseh adif, and it's better not to do anything, and he says not to do it. That's what he brings down and analyzes the not to do. However, for Yom Kippur, he says you go ahead and you do it, because Yom Kippur, the whole day you're saying the Ve'avor, you're saying the 13 midot. So therefore, on Yom Kippur, that, and I'll end up with my story that I said many times. I was in a shul, and it was Rosh Hashanah, and I did not say Amunai, as Kamavaji says not to say it. And there was another rabbi there, and he came over to me and he told me not knowing correctly, the Bukhari minhag is to say it. He said, I'm coming back Yom Kippur, I want to make sure you're going to say it. So he came back Yom Kippur, and I said it because Kamavaji says you say it. Right. So I did it. He calls me after Yom Kippur, he says, you did very good, you did it. I said, I said, he must have never read the tshuva of Kamavaji. They said, you do say it. Yes, Malkiel.
Even if it falls on regular weekdays.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Any Yom Tov, not Rosh Hashanah, not just only Rosh Hashanah. That's Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot, whatever Yom Tov. Kamavaji says we don't say the Amunai 3 times by the Torah. We only do that on Yom Kippur. Okay, but most of the world, everyone else except Kamavaji seems to be saying that you should do it.
And if they do say it, I should just be quiet.
Yes, he says to just.
Well,
be
the
quiet.
other 200 people say it. I should just.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right. That's correct. That's what he does say to do. If everyone else is saying it, you just be quiet. Okay. All right. I hope we were able to get some of the halachot straightened away. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shana Tova Metuka.
Thank you. Take care.